Hey everybody, it is Dungeon Master Mark, and today we are going to do, or I should say start the video series on how to make yourself custom LED pieces with LEDs for flames, for crystal balls, and all kinds of other stuff. So, I've already been told a couple times that this video will tick some people off that don't want me to release the video. So, don't really care. We're going to do it anyway so that everyone can make their own LED pieces. So let's go ahead and turn this off. Now, like I said, this is just a regular Dwarven Forge piece that has been, inside's been hollowed out a little bit. And this one I actually made late last night. It only took about, maybe about 30 minutes or so of actual work to make this one. So the first thing you're going to need is going to be, like I said, if you're using Dwarven Forge, you know, you can get the precast ones, and then you'll, I have what's called a Forstner Bit, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit in a video how to hollow those out. And like I said, it'll be rather straightforward using the correct type of tool. If you're using Hirst darts, obviously you may want to make the piece that you're going to cast, and then you could either hollow it out, or you could always cast, or I should say make a mold of the piece, then cast it in resin, and then you'd be able to hollow out the resin piece. So depending on how you want to do it and what type of material you're working with will determine how you're going to customize it. Plaster obviously does not take very well to drills. Resin does, and then the PVC from the Dwarvenite drills fairly nicely. I do have to warn you though, the material itself is toxic, so you do want to wear a mask and preferably eye protection. So obviously you're going to need whatever it is you're putting your material into. And then the next thing we're going to be looking at is going to be LEDs. So there are different types of LEDs depending on what it is you're going to be using. These ones are kind of your very, very basic, generic dollar store LEDs. These actually came from the dollar store earlier today. These are rated at 120 total hours, so 60 hours each, and these are color changing. So this is just gonna, if I can get it to, so it's gonna go from green to blue to red, and it's a static pattern. So these are not programmable. Like I said, we'll go into a later video of how to program them using like a small board if you want to, using an Arduino. But that'll be a much more advanced video than the one we're doing today. I think it goes to red next, I believe. So these ones cycle fairly slowly. Like I said, you can also get the tea lights where it's either like a red flicker or like a candlelight flicker, so it just looks like a fire. This one I actually made using a red pulsing LED, or a random flicker. So it looks a lot more like an actual flame or like an actual fire itself. Now as far as pre-wired LEDs, there's going to be several different types you're going to find. Some of them are already at the correct voltage. There is what's called Ohm's Law, which is voltage over resistance and then divided by watts. Wait, I think I might have that backwards. Anyway, I'll post that down in the correction below. If you're wanting to be very, very specific, Ohm's Law is going to make sure that you have the correct resistor for the correct LED for the correct voltage. Most of the batteries you're going to find are going to be 3-volt batteries, and the smaller, like a 23 or 2032. So some people call these like watch batteries. Those are going to be what you're going to use for most time for tea light candles like this. So here's a much, much brighter, and a lot better than a dollar store one, obviously. You can tell the difference in how bright this particular LED is versus the dollar store one. So, like I said, depending on the LED you get, there is definitely a quality difference. So one thing you definitely want to look at is the brightness or the lumens of the LED, and then how many hours. I've seen ones, like I said, these ones here are rated for 60 hours. I've seen ones that are rated for thousands of hours. If you're on a tight budget and you're only going to make a couple, you may want to look at dollar store ones. If you are looking for higher quality, definitely do a Google search. You can pick some up sometimes on eBay or Alibaba, and you can get them very, very cheap if you buy them in bulk, if you're going to be making a lot of them. So let's go ahead and take the battery out of that for right now. The next thing we're going to talk about is pre-wired LEDs. So these are already wired, and if necessary, already have a resistor built in to the LED itself, or I should say, where the actual comes down. So you actually have the LED, which has two little wires, a negative and positive, and then they're either soldered or wired directly onto the cords. So if we just go ahead and take this, like I said, this is a 3-volt LED, and I have a 3-volt battery, which helps if I put it on the right side. Yeah, if I can get contact good. There we go. So you can see this is a red flicker. And this is what they call a random flicker. It still has a pattern that's just fairly random. It doesn't use a board or anything like that. And this is similar to the LED I used in this one. So all this one is, like I said, we've hollowed it out. The LED is basically pushed up barely through the top like that. And then we've bent the fins back. Oh, there we go. And then we've wired a switch and a battery holder in. So all you would do, like I said, if you want to wire one of these up, before we go there, like I said, the pre-wired LEDs, these are normally a higher quality LED. You can get these in different sizes. I've seen 1mm LEDs all the way up to 10mm. I believe this right here is actually a 5mm, so it's kind of right in the middle. But they do make what's called a pico. Just so here is actually, I believe, a 3mm, and they make a 1mm, which is even much smaller than that, and the pico is very, very, very tiny. Now this right here is a much higher quality. This one here, you're probably looking at, if you buy them as a set of 10, maybe about $10 for a set of 10, so about $1 each. These ones are a little bit more expensive for the higher quality and the smaller. But let me see if I can show you the amount of light. Like I said, this one here is just a flashing one. Fairly bright. But like I said, you can get them flashing, you can get them where they flicker. And there's other settings. Let's see, I believe one of these is also a color changing one. Let me double check here. Oh, that's another flashing one. But yeah, so like I said, if you go on eBay, you want to search for pre-wired LEDs. And like I said, you can find these sometimes in lots of 10 all the way up to, you can sometimes buy them in bulk, like up to 1,000 if you're wanting to do a whole bunch. These are battery holders, or what's called a 3-volt battery holder / switch. These are actually from a little company called Light Your Models, which I'm going to put a link down to the bottom. I believe these are about $1.50 all the way up to $3, depending on the length and the battery holder and things like that you're wanting to get. And these are already pre-wired. You can buy this piece right here by itself, and then you can buy just regular cord, and you buy a switch, and you can wire it all up and solder it yourself. But like I said, if you're just wanting to make it as easy as possible, so all you'll do is you're going to, like I said, you're going to wire that or solder that, and you're going to do the same here. Actually, I have it backwards there, the red to red, and then black to black. And then all we're going to do is add the battery, and then you have a circuit. So like I said, you always want to make sure you match up the colors. And then one thing you want to look at is whatever type of glue or whatever type of epoxy, you want to make sure it's something that's not going to damage the actual connections. You can also use electrical tape, or you can use shrink wrap. That way you can make sure you get a good circuit. So bear with me 1 second. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and take this tile, and we're going to go hollow out the inside so that we can go ahead and make a new tile piece. So bear with me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. We need to go out to the garage real quick. All right, guys. So right now we are out in my garage, my shop, and this is a Forstner Bit. So basically what this does, like I said, it's going to hollow out the inside, and it's going to make a fine little point. And what you want to do is you basically just want to measure the size of your LED or the size you're cutting out. And you want to add just a little bit of room, like I said, and that's going to determine how wide your cut's going to be, where it's going to hollow that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this up in the machine and get ready. If you do not have a drill press, that's not a big deal. You can use like a regular hand drill. You just want to be really, really careful, obviously. Make sure you don't drill into your hand or do anything crazy like that. So hopefully the camera should be fine. It should be steady. And make sure this is nice and steady here. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Let's go ahead and turn on the light here. Get my safety glasses on. And we're going to go ahead and start this. see we're about halfway through right now. Gonna blow that out a little bit. Now the deeper you go, it's like I said, it's going to go a little slower because it's starting to get hot. So you also want to be careful and you want to back out every once in a while, get rid of any loose material. And hopefully you don't lose it like I just did and drop it. But that's alright. See if I can get the focus there. So right now, as you can probably see, we're about halfway, a little over halfway. So let me go ahead and start it back up again. Almost there, guys. Alright, so right now we're to the point where it's thin enough you can actually push it. I'm not sure how well it's going to show in the video. And right now it's also hot, so it's going to be nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this real quick, and we're going to go to the next step. Alright guys, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up in the camera, but there is a little bit of a lip. Almost like a nipple on the inside. There's like a little ridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this on top of a board. So on the drill press, so when you're pressing down, it's going to kind of bow it out a little bit. So we're just going to put the board underneath there to keep it nice and flat. That way when we take out the centerpiece, so it gets nice and smooth on the inside and gets more level. So now, right now the very top is a little discolored from the heat. Not sure if that's going to show up in the video. As you can tell, it's thin enough where I have a little itty bitty hole poking through. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn off our light here. I'm actually going to go ahead and take the Dremel. I'm just going to barely punch through the hole so we can widen it up just a little bit. So I have my Dremel here handy. We widen up the hole just enough to fit the LED and the wires through. Alright guys, so there we go. It's nice and hollowed out from the Forstner Bit. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to shut this off. We're going to go back inside and go ahead and fit the LED. Alright gentlemen, so we are back inside. Let me go ahead and straighten up the tripod here a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to basically take one of these tea-light candles like this, and we're just going to take a pair of pliers, pop it open so we get the base out. And when you do that, this is what you have. You basically have an LED, a little piece of plastic, and this little lever, all that does is it connects or it pushes this up against the side of the battery so the LED lights up. So it's basically a very, very simple switch. Now, when you do that, like I said, this piece right here, holding that down, will keep that into a circuit. So there's a couple different things you can do. You could, in theory, glue this where it's over this way, like put a little dab of super glue. That way, all you're doing is pushing it over, and it's going down. You could mount something on the bottom of here so it keeps pressure down on that. Or you could, like I said, technically just super glue this into place just permanently. Let me use some tacky glue, and then just take the battery out whenever you're wanting to turn it on or off. So it just kind of depends what you're wanting to do if you're using one of these. If you're using a LED like this, you're not going to worry about it because you're going to have a switch to use. So it's kind of up to you guys how you want to wire your LED. For what we're going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, this one right here actually will not have any type of screw or anything, so we're going to use this one instead here. So all we're going to do to pop this open, this is probably the worst pair of pliers I own. If I can get it open now. There we go. Oh well, switch broke. Whoop-de-doo. So as you can see, basically the same setup, same configuration. So what happens is when you push that little lever, this little piece right here basically touches the battery, and that is what turns it on. So we're going to go ahead and try it out. So we can super glue this into place, and anytime we have the battery in the bottom, it's going to light up. Take battery out, it turns off. Pretty simple, right? Okay. So for the next part, we will need to open up that hole just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and take the X-Acto knife. Like I said, if you're using Hirst bits, you really won't need to worry much about doing this because you can cast your pieces around wherever your LED is going to be. There we go. That should be about good. So if I had to guess from a Hirst piece, you're probably looking at about 1.5 blocks worth of height. That way you'll be able to have something in your fire, or some type of fire effect. Whatever type of effect it is you're going for. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to push that through the bottom. As you can see, we still got a little bit of resistance there, so we're just going to widen it up just a little bit more. So basically what happens is the LED is coming through, but then the second little lip right there is getting caught. So we're just widen up just a little bit. I can make sure I get it even, not crooked. And like I said, don't worry about if it's not perfectly straight, because we're going to put like a little piece of balsa wood or something in there to use for wherever the flame is, or if you're doing a crystal ball or something similar, you're going to be able to hide it underneath whatever else you're adding. In my case for this, I think what we're going to do is we're going to add some crystals, some little Australian crystals, so make it look like there's some glowing stones underneath. So let's go ahead and pop that through again. Aha! This time we have it coming through. Okay, so as you can see, there's a little bit of a lip there. So all we're going to do to cut that is we're just going to kind of go like this. We're going to massage the knife around that. Obviously, you do want to be careful. Make sure you don't cut your fingers off. If anyone does cut their fingers off, please don't blame me. And let's go ahead and do the other side here. You might be able to just press that down a little bit too. Go. So that's going to be super tight, and it's definitely not going to come loose. Go ahead and clean that off a little bit. So right now, like I said, the base is almost the perfectly exact size of the Forstner Bit. You could technically put like a little dab of super glue in there, but obviously it's not coming out. So before we go any further, we do want to make sure that everything is still nice and tight. Make sure our LED is wired up nice and snug. And we now have a color changing piece. The LED. If I can get it out there. Here we go. So, depending on what you're wanting to do now, like I said, your LED, if you have a flickering flame LED like this one, you could definitely take some little, whoops, go ahead and turn it off. You could definitely take some little pieces of wood and make a flame, which this is actually made from epoxy. Oh, there we go. It's just made from epoxy and then painted up to look like a fire. This is a color changing one, so you could put crystals around it, or you could even technically, I guess, put some flames around it using epoxy and make it look like it's a flame. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some crystals on this one. This stone piece around there is actually from Hirst. I believe that's from the cavern mold. Or the water cavern mold, water cavern accessories, I should say. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find the crystals, and we'll come back and we will go ahead and finish this up and add some Australian crystals to this bad boy. I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we're back. I have a couple different choices of crystals. Ideally what you want to look for is you want to look for some type of either basalt or like an Australian crystal that's extremely clear. Let's go ahead and pop this in there real quick. Alright, so for the purpose of this one, like I said, we're just going to use this piece of Australian crystal. So I'm just going to lean that up against there for right now. But as you can see, see how much light that's going to put out with the crystal right up against it. Now, luckily my daughter loves geodes and crystals, and every time we go down to Pigeon Forge and that, we get gemstones and crystals and stuff to keep hold of. So we always have extra stuff. I know, thank you. So my daughter is nice enough to let me borrow a couple crystals. So like I said, we could easily take something like this and glue a couple into place. So if we're doing some type of like an Underdark setting where we could have these really, really neat crystals that are just like exploding with colors. Other things you can look for is sometimes you'll be able to find gemstones that already have some color in them. So when you put it next to it, like I said, you're going to see the veins of the crystals themselves popping out. So you could technically put this in a vise and slowly drill down into it, but you want to make sure you don't crack it. For what we're going to do though, I may see about using a larger crystal like this. See if I can hold it up. That way it looks like it's pulsing, and like I said, maybe like there's some type of weird anti-magic effect in this particular room. So bear with me one second. I'm going to go ahead and glue a couple of these into place. Actually, I'll probably do some of the small ones. I don't want to waste this big one for this video. So bear with me one second. I'm going to do a real quick video, and I'm going to glue a couple into place, and I'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back again. And so this is the final project, or product, I should say. As you can see, I used about 7 crystals altogether. We have the one kind of a little rougher one, and then we have a lot of these cubes. Or I should say like a little obelisk that kind of reminds you of the Superman's ice palace, the way all the little things jet up. So like I said, all we used was a little bit of gel super glue. As you can tell, when the light pulses through them, the effect is absolutely beautiful. Now what you could do, like I said, you could take a light ink wash and put a little wash on them to highlight some of the cracks in that. You could even put like a little bit of sand or maybe even some little crystals around the very base, make it pop a little more. But I'm probably, like I said, for the purpose of this video, like I said, we're probably just going to leave them as is. So yeah, and that is pretty much it, guys. Like I said, if you are doing the flame LEDs, I'm going to have a second video coming up where I'm going to show you guys how to do the little flame tips using like regular caulk around the house and how to sculpt the flames. So that's going to be an upcoming video, and then we're going to do a more advanced video where I'm going to show you guys how to drill up into the walls. That way you guys can make torches and braziers and sconces and things like that as well. So stay tuned, guys. Like I said, we're going to have at least 2 more videos coming up, and maybe even a 3rd video where I show you guys how to program some of the more advanced lighting effects using Adreno. And that is it, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.